So, real talk, listening to podcasts is powerful, but taking action, that's where everything changes. And that's exactly why I created the Breakthrough Bestie membership. This is where we go beyond the surface with exclusive content, deeper trainings, practical tools, things that you can actually use to create real transformation in your life. And the best part, you're not going to be doing it alone. You're going to be surrounded by a community of driven, growth focused, faith focused besties who are all in this with you. So if you're ready to stop just thinking about change and actually making it happen, I want to invite you to join the Breakthrough Bestie membership. Click the link in the show notes and become a Breakthrough Bestie today. I'll see you inside the community. Welcome back to another episode of the Breakthrough Bestie podcast, where we explore intersection of faith, finances, and the decisions that shape our future. Today's episode is actually quite deeply personal for me, and it is my prayer that it's going to be equally as powerful for you. I am joined by someone whose life reflects discipline, consistency, and a quiet but unwavering trust in God. And that is my bonus mom, Shawn Livingston-Worsham. From being raised by a single mom in a home where giving was a way of life, to learning how to stretch and steward every dollar, to walking through seasons of responsibility, sacrifice, and growth, Sean's story is a reminder that faith and finances are built over time and not overnight. And now at 69, she is experiencing the fruit of that stewardship in a way that comes from years of discipline and obedience. This conversation today is about legacy. It's about consistency and what it really means to trust God, not just once, but over a lifetime. And so I am just over the moon. Welcome to the podcast, Sean.
Hello, 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 hello.
Hello.
Nice being.
Yeah.
How are you today?
I'm good. You look so pretty.
Thank you. And I'm pretty nervous.
It's
But
okay.
we're gonna get through this. We're
We
gonna
are.
get through this.
We are going to get through this. This is just a conversation. For those that don't know, y'all, my stepmom is an introvert. Um, it's so interesting because I know she's an introvert and we've talked about this, but if you ever meet her or you've met her, then you know that she has never met a stranger. So I don't know, like balance that out. Like somebody who does not, like, is an introvert, likes people, and people love her. And then she'd be like, okay, bye bye now.
That is my testimony all over today. I do love people, but I love them at my own pace and my own time. And you're absolutely correct that I never meet a stranger. And when I talk to someone, I feel like they know me and I know them once we're done. And that may be only 10 minutes, but I
That
still
part.
know them.
One thing that I will say for those before we dive into all of this wonderful goodness that we're going to talk about today is what a blessing you have been to my life, my children's life, to our family. So, for those that are new here, Sean married my dad in 2000. In 2000.
In
So
192000.
'cause I was getting ready to say 1997, but that's not true. That's when we met, but you married him officially in 2000. And it was one of those things when I remember meeting you, I knew instantly that you was somebody I wanted to get to know. I wanted to be like. You were definitely and have been since 1997 an inspiration and true blessing. To me. And it's funny because I remember when I met you, you worked in corporate America, and I was just starting out in corporate America. And if anybody's listening to this, and corporate America is a beast in it of itself. Navigating those corporate America streets at any age is hard, but I was 18, 19 years old trying to navigate corporate America, and I didn't understand nothing about the games that were played and how you had to play it strategically. And I was not always um I didn't listen a lot of times and got myself into a lot of trouble that and Shawn tried to help me, y'all. She tried to help. And eventually I started listening, but baby, to be Shawn or to be like Shawn in 1997, that was the goal. That was the bar. Like you had the suits, you had the hairstyle, you had I think I was shopping at what was it? Casual Corner. Do you remember Casual Corner?
Yes, yes, I do. Yes, I do.
Casual
Yes, I
Corner
do.
used to be
We
it. No,
shopped at, we all shopped at casual corner, but on the sales rack. Always
listen.
on the sales rack.
No, no, no. Then I heard about what was it? I don't remember. It was a brand where people were going to buy their suits, and I was like, that's way outside my price range. It might have been Macy's at the time. It could have even been, I don't know, St. John's. I have no idea, but I just knew
It wasn't St. John with me. It was probably Anne Klein.
incline. Yeah.
Anne Klein.
Either way, I couldn't afford none of it. Mhm. Mhm. Mhm.
If you shop like I shop, you can afford anything
Mm.
because I don't buy anything full price. Anything. I look for the sales. And if they don't have it in my sales, my size at the sales, it's not for me.
Okay.
So
See how
never
we
say that
already in
you,
the
I'm telling you.
we see how we
Let's
already in
go.
the interview. She already dropping gems. Okay, so tip number one: we don't buy things full price. We buy them on sale, and if it's not in your size, you say no.
You say no.
Now wait, so we don't buy stuff, with the idea or the hope that we gonna get back to that size. We like as inspiration.
No, 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 no. You buy it on sale in your size, and you pray that your size won't fluctuate too much,
In
won't
Jesus' name.
go too far up or too far down. And there's always the shapewear that you can
Okay, shapewear.
shape
Okay,
it up. Me and
I
shapewear are
love
real good
it.
friends.
I love it. All right, so let's dive in. So in your bio, you mentioned about your mom showing you how to give. So
Mhm.
is that where you learned about money growing up?
The yes, basically, I learned more. So my mom gave me the money.
Okay.
She gave me a whole quarter. But back in those days, a quarter would get you far, far, far. So she gave me the money. But my grandmother and my grandfather really taught me the way to save the money. So we were always in church. We would Bible school, uh, Sunday school, everybody school, school, school. So when she always taught me you give the first to the church. So I gave a whole 5 cent to the church. I went to the table, gave them my quarter, and they looked at me like, "Oh, thank you." I'm like, "No, no, no. I want my change. I want my 20-cent change because I got something to do with the rest of it." So my grandmother and my grandfather really taught me the way to save. And then like I don't know where I got it from, but after I gave my nickel, I was there was a lady that I was outside that she sold candy and stuff. So I spent 5 cent with her, got a whole bunch of stuff. 5 cent at school, got a whole bunch of stuff. And then 10 cent went to saving because I wanted to buy my mother and my sister's gift for Christmas. And things weren't expensive back then. So they may have gotten some earrings or a little candle or a little something. But I was going to save until I was able to get them something. And then as the years went by, you work a little bit more, you save a little bit more. So their gifts got bigger and bigger, and sometimes it got a little bit too out of hand. I was like, well, wait a minute, I forgot to buy me something.
That's
But
good.
I always save. I did.
I love that.
Uh,
That made me think of that scripture in Proverbs that says, train up a child, right, in a way that they should
mhm.
go when they get older. It sounds like you took that to heart. Do you feel like those early lessons stayed with you into adulthood?
Absolutely. Especially when I didn't know what the word budget meant
Mm.
until I worked in the corporate world, and I worked in a finance group. And so somebody took me to the side, and it wasn't always somebody my color, but and it's no offense to them, but it's like maybe they just didn't know. But I was glad that somebody took me to the side and say, "Hey, look, what are you doing with your monies?" And I'm like, "Well, what you mean what I'm doing? I'm paying for a house, or apartment, or whatever the case may be." And he was like, "No, you need to budget your money better." So they took me to the side, and I told them that, well, I'm going to always get my 10%. And then I said, "Well, tell me what to do with the rest of it." And so they were like, "Well, what about retirement?" I'm like, "Well, I'm just 20 something years old. Why are you talking about retirement?" So, well, that's when you start. That's when you start. So they taught me about, saving for retirement, and then to throw a little wrench in it. So my mom was diagnosed as being manic depressant very early. In my age, she was only 17 years when she had me, 17 years old when she had me. So I always had the mindset that I needed to save, because one day I knew I was going to take care of my mom. Not her take care of me during this time, but I knew I had to take care of my mom. So it's like I had them teach me what to do. So one day I could be able to take care of my mom, and that I could still live while I was doing that. And so lunchtime we would have like lessons learned, and we go get our bag lunch or whatever like that, and literally just sat down and they told me step by step by step. I didn't know anything about uh, what to do in the stock market and everything and stuff like that. So they taught me that because they said I didn't have my money in the right way. But they also taught me how to look into my investments and say, okay, well, the stock market is going left. You need to go right. You need to pull it back right, and stuff like that. So I was very blessed, that for some reason, and it wasn't just one person. Many people took me to the side and taught me some. I also worked in the president's office at Shell. So I worked for the one of the presidents at that time, and he was a very quiet man. But I guess he overheard me and the other lady that was working in the office, talking about money and stuff like that. And so he also took me and said, "You need to do this, you need to do that," or whatever. And the other lady that was working with him, she had worked with him much longer than I had. And so she said, "I don't know what you did to him, but he really, really don't talk to people." And I'm like, "Girl, it's me you talking about. I'm one of the, me and the Lord got some things going on. He brings people into my life." And, so he helped me. And then I tried to do the same thing to other people. Sometimes they listened, sometimes they didn't, but I wanted to carry it on.
So that's actually a great segue, and I think that that's one of the things that, when you look at faith and finances, once the Lord brings people into your life and you recognize that it's a blessing, most of us don't want to hold it to ourselves. We want to tell everybody about it. And whether it falls on good and fertile soil or hard ground, we just want people to know. We don't keep it to
Mhm.
ourselves. I mean, I just started a whole podcast because I want people to see real people who look like them, very similar stories and backgrounds,
Mhm.
trusting God, just trusting. We don't always know it when we start. We don't even know how it's going to pan out. But
Mhm.
because we are obedient and we stay committed, God just show up at that thing along the way, meet us where we are and carry us to the next step. And then he brings somebody else and we take that. We're good stewards of that, carry us to the next step. So now I know this, but tell the people that, how many siblings and just a little bit you about your family structure, because it's a bunch of y'all.
Well, in my immediate, my mother, I'm the oldest of three. It's three of us. I have two
Mhm,
other sisters, but my mother had, she's one of 12,
mhm,
and her youngest sibling is only 2 years older than I am. And so they go stair step, or whatever. And so we grew up pretty much not like aunt and niece, but like sisters, so
mhm.
and each one of them had at least 2 to 3 children. I'm probably the only one that only had one.
Wait, really?
Yeah.
Let me pull out the family tree. Let me
Yeah,
look.
except for Octavia.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah. There.
so as you were, and I'm bringing this up because I wanted people to understand the dynamic. So you're the oldest of three. So there's three of you all. You
Mhm.
worked in corporate America. Your sisters did not.
Mhm.
How was it as far as sharing the information that you were getting, even in comparison to growing up being a saver versus a spender?
Mm. That's interesting because some people get it and some people don't.
Mhm,
The I had a sibling once told me, I don't make enough to budget. Because I was like, girl, you need to budget your money better. You really make enough. You're just not budgeting better. And so her response was, but I don't make enough. And I'm like, no, that's not true. Even if you make $5, you budget that $5. you know and money can come into your hands, but if you're not a good steward of it, it will fly out of your hands very quickly. I don't care if that's $5 or $1 million. You have to know how to budget the money. So along the way, I've tried to share different things that I've learned. Um, uh, the some get it, some don't get it.
mhm.
But all in all, we've all done really well. That everybody can do better, but it's like, but the knowledge that I get, I'm an open book with it. Here's what I know. Here's how it has helped me. Do with it as you will.
So I'm glad you said that, and I agree wholeheartedly. And I often tell people in my community, you budget, you're just not intentional with your budgeting. And by that I mean when you look and you're like, oh man, it's Friday, I don't get paid till next Friday. How much is left? And then you figure out what you need and how to make whatever's left in that account stretch until the next payday. That, in essence, is a budget. So, all we're talking about is before the money hits, you make a plan for that money. And if Sean can budget a quarter, if she can budget a quarter and tithe off of a quarter, you, sir, listening to this podcast, you, ma'am, listening to this podcast, can budget whatever it is that you are making and receiving for services rendered. So I want to shift the conversation just a little bit, right? To
Mhm.
what does it look like? Because oftentimes, anybody who is a saver, some people can either tend to be really, really stingy, or
Mhm.
when you get it, you are a giver, right? And so we've established that whatever you have, knowledge or even money, like you talked about buying gifts, um, earrings, from a quarter, blessed be the name. So, okay, cool. So, my question for you is you've always been a giver. Um,
Mhm.
your entire life. You said that. I know that to be true. But you also mentioned that there were times where you gave or spent more than you should have. So,
Mhm.
what did that look like in those seasons?
So those were kind of tough seasons. So in particular, one of the seasons is when I was married to your father,
Mm,
and
let's talk about it.
I huh.
I said, let's talk about it.
Let's talk about it, baby. Let's talk about it. We gonna. So I when we first got married, we made pretty much the same amount of money. And then along the way, this is just my opinion, that along the way, I think he got complacent because he felt like, oh, she's a go-getter. She can do it. She got it. She got it. She got it. So I'm just going to do the bare minimum. And so while I was out there hustling, 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 he was doing just enough. And so me taking the vows so seriously, it was like when he would overspend, I would go to God and like, you got to help me with this because I better, worse, rich or poor, whatever. But this Negro is making me poor more than what I want to be. And so I would make spreadsheets and things, and I was like, hey, look, this is how much I'm bringing in. This is how much you're bringing in. And not really comparing the amounts, but just to give him an idea of what was going out. And I'm like, these are the bills. This is what you're spending on a day-to-day basis. And after that is gone, and then what? But what I'm not gonna do is I'm not gonna stop putting my money into the retirement. I'm not gonna do that. But what that means is we do things less. We don't go and out to eat, or we don't go to whatever. So there were days when we ate freaking popcorn because uh, I need you to stop,
Yeah.
you know.
And
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 then
what
it's
people
like,
don't know, and I'll share this. My dad, may he rest in peace. For those that don't know, my dad is no longer on this side of heaven. He was a big spender. He was a flashy man. He loved the finer things in life. And he also liked the meager things as well, but he just liked a lot of it. So he was not the type that was gonna go and just get an 8 piece of chicken to feed the 2 people in the household. He was gonna go get the 32 piece with 8 sides,
okay,
37 biscuits,
say
and
it
then
loud,
he was
say it
gonna go somewhere else and get something else from the barbecue man because that's his homeboy, and buy 18 barbecue plates and a slab and just
loud.
food on top of food on top of food. Um, and he done drove across all of Houston, right? So from the east side, Galena Park Channel View area to Pearland, Rosharon area to some down going where in Kima because he knows somebody who got some shrimp, and then going to Baytown, and then coming and then stopping by to get some dessert from somebody in Kingwood. How do you know these people? Okay. And why is you buying all this stuff and you didn't spend $89 in gas, in one day, and we got to fill up? Like, sir, and when did you go to work? How did you do all of this? Like, that was my dad.
Hello.
So,
Mhm.
but I bought it for you.
Yes, yes, but I only want two pieces. I only
I
want
asked,
two pieces
I
of
asked for
chicken.
two
I'm
pieces.
done. I'm done. And so where's the rest of this food? I'm gonna invite somebody over here to come eat this stuff. And then we get mad because you invite somebody over there. What the world?
Yeah. Mhm. So when she
Well,
talks
but
about the what's going out and what's coming in, I don't I could talk, he was mine. So this is what it looks like. And maybe somebody listening to this, maybe that's your story where your spouse is um a an entertainer at heart, right?
Mhm.
And wanting to give, it just looked a little different when what you're bringing in pales in comparison to what you're spending. And there is no
Mm.
plan for the future. There's no plan to save. There's no plan because there's money in the bank
Money in the
and
bank,
bills are
baby.
paid magically.
Hmm.
I don't.
Yes. And so what it kind of allowed me to do was I had to rethink that over and over and over and over. So when we first got together, I was living in a house. Had been living in that house for maybe 7 years or so or whatever. And then after that, we bought another house. But after I saw how he spent his money, what I would do was I would pay extra, even sometimes if it was only $100, I would pay extra on the house payment because I'm like, okay, i- if the money ain't there, he can't spend it. So I need to put it somewhere where it's gonna build up and do something. So that's why we were able to go from one house to another house, and each time the amount we paid down was more than the last time, until the last house he and I were together, we put down $100,000 because the equity had built up so much because of me putting a little bit more down, towards the principal as opposed to the interest. And what he didn't know about it, but all he knew is that we were able to go from this little house to this bigger house to this big old house.
Yeah.
And we had a lot of money going down to put down on it,
I
you know.
remember that. I remember that. And I remember my dad bragging about this in great detail. And I remember being um, quite impressed, right? And I remember asking him some questions about, because his credit score and things of that nature, because growing up, we never talked about money. We never talked about
Mm.
finances. That was not a lesson that was taught by my father or my mom. And so everything that I learned was from experience or from other people outside. But I knew we didn't have no money. And so when as an adult, and I remember you guys were going, I don't know if it was the house in Channelview or if it was the house right after that. I'm not exactly sure, where it was, but I do remember when you all put that large down payment down of $100,000, and my dad told me that, I was im and the amount of peacocking that he did. And it wasn't until probably a few years later when we were having one of our real talks, and we were comparing um realities of something probably very different. I don't know, but and I was like, okay, so did this happen? Did this happen? He was like, girl, let me tell you, because I think at that time I was in a similar situation with my ex-husband, and I'm like, how do I navigate this? And you shared, and I was like, wait a the way
Yeah,
he, yeah. Either way,
yeah.
your efforts putting down $100,000 down on a house, and I even remember when you paid off your car, and I was trying to pay off cars, and you was just like, "Oh,
Mhm.
yeah, my car's paid off." And I'm like, "Wait, I'm sorry. Back up. Teach me. Tell me more. What? How? Give me the paper. Step 1, what do I do?" You were one of the very first people that I knew of that had ever done anything like this. And I don't know if I was in my 40s. I would just say maybe late 30s, early 40s, if that, when I found this out. And I'm like, "Wait a what? I
Yeah.
didn't know y'all was I didn't know you I had no idea."
But see, what was happening was like I like to go and do things. I do, I do. But I like my house note low. I like my car paid off or what, kind of thing. So kind of going back to like the Shell and the other job that I had or whatever, because I was at Shell, I was able to, the Lord, I was able to travel so many places on Shell, on that company, that I didn't have to spend my money. So, and I kept saying to the Lord, but I want to do these things. I want to pay off this, but I still want to do these things. So He fixed it, and He allowed me to get into those groups or those departments where they allowed me to travel for free, and business class, business first, and you got allowance, and so I was able to do them both. And so because He allowed me to do that, I had to be a good steward over the other part. You know what I'm saying? He's like, okay, so I took care of this. Now you go and handle this. And so and when I retired and things, I still was able to do some stuff, but I just did it on a lower scale. And to me, it's like I'd rather I'm gonna put it out there. I like the casino. Okay.
Mm. Yes, she does, y'all.
Okay. But and I like to go to the casino often. But I got a budget for that. I'm not going to the casino trying to pay my bills.
Mm.
And so therefore somebody might say, okay, well, let's go to Bora Bora, or let's go to da 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 da. And I say, well, that's a good idea, but I don't want to go there because it's gonna cost me this much to go there. When and if I spend that money like that, then I can't go to casino like I want to go to casino, and that's a lot of ca- casino trips that you're taking away from me. So I might go to one or two of different things or whatever, but then I'm going to the casino. That's just
So
period
so
point.
let's recap real quick. Let's recap. So one,
Okay.
we're not restricting we're not restricting spending. So at no point did she say she just did not do things. Even when she was married to someone who spent their money recklessly, she had to adjust, honored him well. Let me be very clear, and just adjusted to make sure that even though his eyes was not fixed on the future, her eyes was. That was her commitment to being obedient to God, right? And then she is now budgeting what she values, which is the casino, right? That's what she likes. It is not a method to go and win big to pay off bills. It's not a way to, it's not some unhealthy gambling addiction. Um, Instead of her spending that money going on a trip, because she's done that in her lifetime and she's good with that. This is what she chooses to do with her money. And she has added a budget line item for it. So I just want to make sure because I don't need nobody misunderstanding
Absolutely.
what's being
Absolutely.
said
Me
here.
neither. I don't need you to misunderstand, because and then when you ask me, did I do can you borrow some money, and I say no, but you're going to the casino. Yeah, but how much money do I owe you?
Mm,
Mm-mm.
mm, mm,
I, and I'm a giver.
mhm.
If I have it, I'm going to give. And most times not looking for anything back. But if I tell you that I can't, that means that I have reached the limit of my giving for that month or that week or what have you. And then I'm going to go do what I want to do.
And that
Don't be
I'm glad
mad
you
at
brought
me
that
because
up. I'm glad you brought that up because that's another thing too that has been a common theme in this podcast, right? Is creating boundaries, right? And oftentimes again, when you are a saver and then you have to discern when it's okay to give. Do you think your generosity has or people has crossed that boundary where they almost expect you to show up for them because maybe you've done it so much in the past, because you have it, because they know that you are a giver?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Absolutely, positively, yes. And it was a big struggle for me to learn how to say no
Mm,
because I was a people pleaser.
mm.
And I just wanted everybody to be happy. I wanted everybody to enjoy life. And so instead of saying no, I would pull back on something that I wanted just to please them. But then as I got older, the it's like, Lord, no, 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 I don't think I want to do that anymore. But I really don't know how to say no. And I need you to teach me how to say no. And it was oftentimes when the Lord would just, he would do something in the midst of all that. Well, I didn't even have to say no because they would be like, "Oh, well, I got it handled, or I was able to do this, or I was able to do that, or whatever." Because I started voicing it more as opposed to just, "Here you go, here you go, here you go." And then started saying that I too want to do things. I may not want to do it to the capacity that you do it, but I still want to do things. And if I continue to do like I've been doing, especially now that I've retired, then my time is limited.
I
And I know that.
remember to that point, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I do remember that there was a shift where you started being a lot more vocal about uh, not uh, throwing my daddy under the bus, right? But just,
Mhm,
hey, here's the truth about our situation and what's going on. And it made me see things differently. Um,
mhm,
to want to not always come over with my hand out. And I was broke, busting, and disgusted, and it was a free meal every Sunday. Hallelujah, China Co. Um, but it helped me to also recognize they don't always have it like that. And hold on now, like consider um,
mhm,
consider that. And I think the minute, and you said something which made me want to bring that up. I think sometimes you don't always have to say no when you start being a lot more honest and maybe even transparent about your situation. So sometimes people only know what they believe to be the case. And that oftentimes is what we portray. Sometimes we don't want people to know that we're struggling. We don't want
mhm,
people to know that we don't have it like that no more. We don't want people to know that our husbands, our spouses are out here spending faster than they're making because we don't want to dishonor them or we don't want everybody in our business. Let's just be honest. But the minute
mhm,
that we are transparent and we're like, things ain't the math ain't mathing over here, then
mhm.
people will then shatter that image that they have of us and our situation, and then they can handle us accordingly. That way, in the event that we do give, they know that we're giving from a place of not I got it, but I'm giving it. And if I say I need it back, run it back and don't make me have to ask you for it.
Please don't make me. So I'm going to go back to the every day, every Sunday. So I love getting to know you guys. I love the fact that you felt comfortable coming over on Sundays. But what I didn't like was the fact that I tried to tell him, tell them, okay, let's do like we did it at my grandmother's house. We're going to cook the meat. Y'all bring some sides because this is getting to be costly. But instead of him doing that, what he created was a distance between you guys instead of telling you the truth, and we could all still be together.
Yeah.
It's finances are it's tough. It's tough, and it's even tougher from a giver standpoint because like when when I was a single parent with my son, the people they laugh because like I don't cook a lot no more.
Mm,
So, but I would go. My son, I would take him to McDonald's or take him to Jack in the Box, two tacos for $1. And people thought I was just being cheap, but no, that was because I'd already given my 10%. I'd already saved, and this is how much I got left.
mm.
So we got to eat off of this. So we got to get that two tacos for $1 and that jumbo jet. And then we would splurge 2 times a week with Luby's or something like that so he can have some substance, something like that. But it was all not just because I didn't want to cook or I was just too lazy or whatever, but it was also because this is what we got.
Mm.
And sometimes it was I would get him what he needed to get, and I would have some popcorn and orange juice. Me and popcorn real good friends. But people just, oh, she's like, you got popcorn. Yeah, I do.
And and
When you ain't got
I do now, and I may choose it now, but sometimes that was the only
that was
choice.
right. That was the only choice I had. The only had choice. And then when I started to want to cook, and then other stuff happened, so I didn't want to cook no more. Didn't have to spend more money on food.
So
It's just a vicious cycle.
you talk a lot about how you had to steward in different seasons, and I want to talk a little bit about what it looked like to be the steward over your mother's finances because you mentioned early on that you knew that
Mhm.
you were going to eventually have to take care of your mom. And then, so just share a little bit about what it looked like to not only be the steward and the CFO of your household, the CFO
Mhm.
of your mom's finances, and what that looked like um, as the eldest, as the daughter, as the saver, as the giver.
Yeah, so at that particular time, I was doing CRA work, clinical research associate, and I was traveling quite a bit with the job. And then my mom had a stroke. And then she was living with my sister, my baby sister. And so it was beginning to be a little bit too much for my sister. So we had to put her in a facility, in a nursing home, basically. And so we realized that the nursing home takes all of your money except for $50, cover everything a month, whatever you get. I don't care how much you get. And so uh, my sister was like, okay, well, I need you to just pay the people, whatever, because I got so much going. She was going through her own thing. So what I had to do there was I took the $50, put it in this place. Every time she needed clothes or underwear, da 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 da, I paid that out of my own money.
Mm.
And my two sisters, they would also, help contribute to that as well. But those $50 a month, she was she had a stroke in 2014 and she passed away in 22. So those $50 a month just added up, added up, added up. By the time that she passed away, there was enough money in the account to pay for her her burial. The only thing that we had to do was like minimal things like the programs or whatever. But the big part, because I was able to not touch that, it grew.
Listen,
It grew.
hold on, because I don't think people understand what a blessing that is, because a lot of times, especially because during the same time period, there was stuff going on in your life as well.
Tell the people.
There was a lot of stuff going on, and a lot of times we'll put money aside to save, and then we'll go in there, dip in there, pull it out for what's going on right now. Then we'll go back in there, dip in. So
Hmm.
that $50 a month for, I don't know what the math is, but I know it was over 10 years, right?
Hmm.
That just
Hmm.
sat there. That takes a
Sit there
different type of faith. That takes a different type of stewardship to have access to something,
and
but
don't mess with it.
and don't mess with it, right? Because you know that that is for something else. And here's the thing, when you are making good money, you always believe, oh, I could just put it back. Oh, I can just replace it. Oh, you know what?
Mhm.
I make it. I'm working this job. If something was to happen, I'll just pay it. I'll just pay it out of pocket. W- What she's not telling you is life happened. Not just once, not twice, but several times over. She ain't working that
Mhm.
good job anymore. She's
Mm.
retired, had
Mm.
been. Her entire life got changed, upside down, sideways to sideways, and she could have used that money to make her current situation so much easier. But because that money was earmarked, because she had years of being faithful and obedient and understanding stewardship, and that money was set aside for a purpose. And the reality is, it didn't belong to her.
That part.
And so even though she could access it, spend it, and her sisters never would have known. She could have replaced that
Mm.
money and they never would have known. But when that bill came due and her mom passed away and she had to pay for it because she left it there, they only had to come out of pocket for some programs. Now, I just want to pause because I don't know if anybody has had to bury somebody or had to uh, even if you didn't bury them, cremate them, if somebody's died and you had to pay for it, the price of funerals today in comparison to 10 years ago are not the same. And so to say that you only had to pay for programs or minuscule things like maybe a flower here or something there, the majority of that was covered because of your stewardship. And I know it wasn't easy, and you're not saying it, but I was there and I remember it wasn't easy because the nursing home didn't make it easy. There was always something missing. Glasses was coming up missing, pajamas was coming up missing, underwear was coming up missing, toiletries was coming up missing every
And
other week.
she looked great, baby, because we kept her bought outfits, and she was dressed to the nines over there at that nursing home. But that $50, it stayed where it needed to stay, because I knew that there was going to be a time. There was going to be a time, and I didn't feel like I had anybody else to depend on to help in the situation, and not saying anything bad about anybody, but everybody had their own things they were dealing with. And so it's just I knew that that had to be left alone. And but we made it
There's
through.
a there's a scripture, and that's what I'm looking it up. There's a scripture in Luke 16:10. It says, "He who is faithful in a very little thing is faithful also in much, and he who is unrighteous in a very little thing is unrighteous also in much." Now, I grew up reading King James. It's a different version. Back then, they said, "Faithful in a little thing, he'll make you rule over much." That's what that. Okay. But that's what this reminds me of about you and all of those years of being faithful in little. And
Hmm.
um, now I want to transition into the faithful in much season. And I'm smiling because I want you to talk about what it and Lord, I don't wanna get emotional, but I want you to tell them about this current season and what you have done as a retiree, um, divorced in your later years, because she divorced my daddy in Jesus' name. So I didn't even tell the people that part. Um, and so I want you to tell them about not just where you are, but what the Lord told you about this
Mm,
season that you just walked into.
yeah. So I didn't understand it. I I've always been close to the Lord. I feel, and always believed in the Lord, but I didn't know if I had just trusted Him the way that I'm trusting Him now. I think it was probably about a year or so ago in the midnight hour. He just woke me up and said, "Shift." And I'm like, "What the world is you talking about?" And so I had no idea, but that word just stuck with me. And I told Angela, I said, there's a word that the Lord gave me. And sometimes I'm like, is it really you, Lord? Is it somebody else trying to play with me? But it, I heard it. And so I didn't know what that meant until I guess about 4 or 5 months ago. Um, I kept feeling unbalanced in my home, and I couldn't understand what it was, and I suffer with vertigo every now and then as well. And so and then just to be more transparent, my son and I were going through a little something something. And so I thought the shift was going to be he and our relationship. I didn't know if it was going to shift to the good or worse. What I, that's where I thought it was. But long story short, the shift was it didn't have anything to do with the relationship with my son. It had to do with my home. So I was feeling uneasy. I said, I really can't stay in this house. The Lord is telling me to shift. And I was like, Lord, I thought you told me that this was my forever home. But he was like, mm-mm, no, that's not what I'm telling you. So I went to a little class that my cousin gave about gentle goodbyes. It's telling us how to prepare for when you pass over. And so that night when I came home and I'm like, something ain't right. So I said, I really can't stay here no more. So I text my realtor and I say, look, girl, I don't know what's going on, but the Lord is telling me that I need a shift and I need to get out of this house. And I said, I need you to come over and we're going to talk about how we're going to sell this house. I don't even know how I'm going to do this because I'm retired. I'm retired. Yeah, I got a little something over here, but I'm retired. So the next day she came and after church she came and so she was like, Miss Shawn, I bought my thing to put on the door because I know how you get when you say something, it's time to move. And I said, yes, it's time to move. I don't know what it means, but I got to move. So she was like, okay, well, this is what you need to do, prepare for, to get ready to move for this house. So I called Angela, I called my sisters, I called my nephews or whatever. Everybody came over and just started packing. And they was like, well, how do I just pack? That just pack. And so Angela came over with all of Home Depot's boxes and tape and all this kind of stuff and everything. I'm like, oh Lord. But within a week, we had that house prepared for the people to come and take the pictures of the house. They took the pictures. I called the realtor and I said, the people just left. She hit the go button on the H the HAR, And I said, "Oh Lord, what have I done? Because now I got to keep this house clean, and for the people to start coming." Now, mind you, there was a house directly across the street that had been on the market for about 2, 3 months. The house still ain't sold today, but it hadn't been sold in 2 or 3 months when I put mine up. And with put the house on the market, she and I went looking for different houses. I couldn't find a house that I thought was good enough. Well, first of all, let me just back up. So I called my financial advisor and I said, "Hey, this is what I want to do. This is how much money I got left in my equity. I don't know if I'm gonna need some more money to put down on the house, but I want my house note to be at least the same or less." He got me together with a mortgage lender. They gave me an approval letter like this, and I'm like, "Well, I don't know how this is happening because I get this amount of money, and but I'm gonna trust it." That approval letter came so fast. We went and found looking for houses. I found a house, and the my son and I, the realtor would call, and she was like, "Well, I need you to go, because the people gonna come in an hour." I'm like, "Girl, I got to go vacuum," but I said, "Because I'm anal, I got to let them see the lines and stuff in the house. They 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 gotta know everything's good." So, long story short, it only took 2 weeks to sell that house. 2 weeks. Now, mind you, I got to give my realtor some credit too because that little heifer did not sleep. She did not sleep. She was like, "Miss Shawn, go here, Miss Shawn, go there. We're going to do this, or that, whatever." And I closed and bought a house in the same day. Closed on the house that I was selling at 10 o'clock that morning. Met the new owners, nice people. Left there, got caught in traffic, but had to be at the other mortgage company, title company at 1 o'clock. Closed on that house. But the money from the house that I sold was transferred over to the new house. Sold that house, went and got the other house, came back. Movers were there. They, it all worked so smooth that day that I couldn't have done it any better. The Lord just worked it out. So it wasn't nobody, but I couldn't do nothing but give thanks to the Lord because I'm retired. My salary is different, but but because I have been a good steward over money through all those other times, that I was able to take all of that money, put it on this house that I'm in now, and I ain't been here a month yet, and my house note, my mortgage is not even $400 less than the house that I was in. It, but God, but God, and I've always been not necessarily afraid of the Lord, but in reading the Bible, I saw how He like, "You out of here, you out of here, you out." I'm like, "Oh no, I'm scared of you," because He the only daddy I know.
Mm,
I didn't know my earthly father. All I know is my heavenly father. And so you say this what I need to do? Lord, this is what I'm gonna do. This He said I am.
mm, mm.
I am
Oh, that's so
your
good.
mom, your
That's
daddy, your sister,
that's
your
so
brother,
good. That's
your
so good.
husband,
Mm,
whatever I am.
mm,
And I am trusting him in that more so than I've ever in my entire life. Entire life. And I will say to anybody, you can.
Mm.
You have to just want it. You have to be disciplined. What you do in little is what you're going to do in much. What are you doing in your little? That's what I say.
Oh, y'all, I could keep talking, honestly, because this is so good. And I hope that the people that are listening to this understand, um, and that they take this as a real powerful reminder that stewardship is not built in a moment, it is built over a lifetime. And what stood out to me is that the real breakthrough wasn't just the house or the numbers. It was your consistency, it was the discipline. And honestly, it was the trust in God that carried you through every single one of those seasons. Because without
Mhm.
Him in any one of those seasons, you would have crumbled. And what you were building would have crumbled. Because at the end of the day, it's not about what you do once, it's about how you live, how you show up, how you steward, how you wait every single day. So
Mhm.
I hate to end this conversation, but man, if this episode encouraged you to take a moment, um, and I want you to reflect on the habits that you're building right now because they are actually shaping your future. Now, if you are a part of our Breakthrough Bestie membership community, don't worry. We are about to go deeper into some of the wisdom and the lessons that will not get shared publicly. So I will see everyone else at the next episode next week. Hey, so if this video helped you to see your money differently, I want you to subscribe so that you can continue building habits that lead to real wealth. I want you to remember these two things. One, breakthrough starts when you decide to take control. And then two, wealth is not built by accident, it is built by the decisions that you make today.